Hey BookTube, this is the Sisterhood of the World book tag. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and I was tagged by Lisa at Books and Smiles, whom I love. I love that woman. I buddy read stuff with her. I talk to her all the time and she is absolutely wonderful. I am so blessed to count her as a friend, and so she tagged me in this tag. It is the Sisterhood of the World tag. And the great thing about this tag is that the person who tags you makes up all the questions. I think that is so awesome. I did this tag a long time ago, but it's been so long ago that I thought I would go ahead and do it again, especially since it was Lisa that tagged me. So first up, you walk into a bookstore and are greeted with 3 free books of your choice. These can be pre-orders. What do you choose? Well, when I was thinking about this, it didn't occur to me that she meant one book. I was thinking one series of books. So one of my choices was The Chronicles of St. Mary's by Jodi Taylor. And of course, I would want them all signed. Of course, all of these books I would want signed. Then I thought of Obsidio, which is by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and it is book 3 in the Illuminae series. So I would definitely want a hardcover copy of that signed. And then all of Laini Taylor's books would be fine, all signed. Thank you so much. If I could only have one, though, I would settle for Strange the Dreamer, and I would love that UK cover. Actually, I'd like the US cover too. Could I have 2 copies of that? Yeah, I don't want much, you know, just the world and the moon too. What book do you think should be taught in school? Unwind by Neal Shusterman. That is a YA series, which is an adventure, but it's 4 books and a collection of novellas. I talked about it in another tag recently, but really, I think that book is an entertaining YA book which addresses a lot of themes that are just so great for critical thinking today. And especially in a high school classroom, I think the discussion that would spark would be amazing. So yeah, definitely Unwind by Neal Shusterman, which on audio is narrated by Luke Daniels. If you could interview any author, living or, well, living, not living or dead, but just living, who would it be and why? Well, I would want to talk to not just an author, but a narrator too. So I think I would want to talk to Jack Campbell, which is a pseudonym for John Henry, who has written a lot of military fiction and science fiction, and he also wrote the YA series, which is really more fantasy than anything, The Pillars of Reality. And I love that series so much. It was written specifically for audible.com for audio, and MacLeod Andrews narrates it. So I would want to talk to both of them. And especially John Henry, because I would want to know, I mean, I would love to talk to him about how he got from military fiction and science fiction, which doesn't seem too far of a jump, to YA fantasy with these characters. And the main character is a young girl. And that series is it's a combination of steampunk and magic. So how you get from military fiction and all of that there, I would love to know. And then MacLeod Andrews, oh my gosh, I'd love to pick his brain as to how he decided how to voice switch character, because some of them are just hilarious. What fictional character can you relate to most? This didn't take me very long to figure out. Beatrice from the Book of Strange New Things by Michelle Faber. Now, I relate to her the most because she's a pastor's wife. And when I read that book, I couldn't believe how many things came through to me in terms of the way that, you know, we deal with life as pastors' wives, and the obstacles that we have to overcome, and, you know, the things that, I don't know, we just have to get over sometimes. And so my husband is not a missionary to aliens in outer space, although maybe that's debatable sometimes. But yeah, I just felt like that was a character to whom I could completely relate. I could be that character easily. Recommend an underrated book. The Until the End of the World series by Sarah Lyons Fleming. It is adult zombies. It is amazing. It is 3 books and a novella. They are Until the End of the World, then the novella is So Long Lollipops, and the second book is And After, and the third book is All the Stars in the Sky. Such a great story. Really action-packed, full of life and death stuff. She's not afraid to kill off characters. I say this every time I talk about this series, but she's not afraid to kill off characters that you love. They're not usually the primary characters. Well, they're never the primary characters, but they're secondary characters that you really care about and that become very, much focal points of the story at some points. And, she isn't afraid to do that. And so nobody is safe, and that is a little frightening. So that just adds to the story. What series would you want made into a movie or TV series? I think the Chaos Walking series by Patrick Ness would be fantastic. That is The Knife of Never Letting Go, The Ask and the Answer, and then The Monsters of Men. And there are several novellas that are interspersed in between all of those. I think that would be amazing, mainly because the bad guy in that series is kind of an anti-hero. I mean, he's so morally gray. I mean, he's a bad guy, but he does some good things. So you kind of like, he has good motives, but he's a really bad guy. It just, I don't know, the relationships in that story are just so good. So I would love to see that. Share one of your favorite quotes from a book you love. Well, I have 2 quotes because I couldn't narrow it down to one. I have a lot of quotes that I love from various books, but these 2 were just at the very top. If I had to list, in order of the ones I like the most, these 2 would be tied for the very top spot. So first one was from The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken, and Liam is talking. Liam is he's a guy that is kind of a natural born leader. He's optimistic. He's kind of a glass half full, predictably happy kind of a guy. I loved him. He's one of my favorite characters of all times. And so there is one day when the whole crowd, they're all going to go out and get into this van and leave for the day. And he says, okay, let's just carpe the hell out of this DM. I love that. I love that. The other one is from Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare, which is book 3 in the Infernal Devices, which is YA fantasy steampunk. And Jem is talking, and he's talking to Tessa. And he says, one does not question miracles, nor complain that they are not to one's liking. What a great quote. What a great quote. Gosh. What, this miracle isn't good enough for you? Oh, I love that. I love that reminder that it's a miracle. Why am I complaining about it? It's a miracle. I love that. What is the oldest book on your TBR? I had to go back and look at my Goodreads to-read shelf, and it is 16 by Julia Carr. There is no audio for that book. I do have the second book in paperback. And I recently found out that it's not just a duology. The second book is called Truth. Third book is called something I can't remember. But I found out Julia Carr, who's the author, is local to me. She's about 2 hours away in a town where I used to live. So I think 2 hours. I don't know. Maybe it's been an hour and a half. I couldn't believe that she was there. I thought, wow. So I'm going to keep my eye out for book signings, and maybe if I can catch her, I'll have her sign. I'll pick up the first book, I'll have her sign the second, and then maybe get a copy of the third. The third has been, according to her blog, sent to the editor and the publisher. I think it's ready to be printed, like published, but it'll probably be later this year. Even maybe early next year before that gets done. I don't know, but she seems optimistic, and I'm hoping, because I don't know, the premise to that just sounds really good to me. Best standalone book you read this year? Hands down, A Million Junes by Emily Henry. That is YA contemporary that kind of then delves into magical realism that then kind of goes straight up into fantasy and then comes back via the magical realism door into contemporary. Oh, such a great book. I love Emily Henry. I am really looking forward to the next thing she writes because it's going to be amazing. She's just an amazing writer. Recommend 3 booktubers with less than 500 subscribers. You know what? Most of the people I watch these days have less than 500 subscribers, or certainly less than 1,000 subscribers, which I just love that. I love hearing about new people that are, you know, doing booktube, because everybody's got a fresh look, a fresh opinion, a fresh, you know, perspective. So I love that. So number 1, Dee from Books and Quirks, who I share a love of a little bit of sci-fi and a little bit of romance, but mostly just pop YA. She and I both like that kind of stuff. She, though, differs from me in that she, I don't know, if I were to tell you how we're different, I would probably tell you that she's a little more intelligent in the way that she chooses books, and also in the way that she reviews them. Lisa from Lichen Books has a very different reading taste than I do, but I love the way she talks about books. She does a lot of literary fiction and just some other things, but I really enjoy listening to her talk about books, so even though I don't have much in common. Kerryn from Rather Be Reading. I love Kerryn. Kerryn is an Australian, and she and I overlap a lot in the YA books and even some of the romance books that we like. Mainly contemporary YA romance. She likes a little more of a thriller, kind of crime suspense flavor to her books, whereas I don't generally go that way, but yeah, she's got some great taste and great opinions about books. I love her wrap-ups. And then I'm going to throw in one more just for free. Sarah at Novel Expectations, who is a romance reader like I am, but she reads a lot more adult chick lit, and I intersperse mine a lot more with like new adult romance, where she intersperses a lot of Regency romance, which is historical fiction. So there are 4, 3 and a bonus, that you should definitely go check out. They are fabulous people. I really enjoy watching them. And I'm hoping that I can find some more people through them, actually. So that is the Sisterhood of the World book tag. I'm going to tag those people that I just mentioned, and I will have a list of questions for you in the description box. So check that out. I hope you do the tag. I'll be checking my subscription feed to see if you've done the tag, so I hope that you will. And that's really just about it for now for me. So I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.